Hello and welcome to Who Corner to Corner podcast. This week we are taking a look at the brand new 13th Doctor audio drama from Big Finish. This one is called Aegis, and this is the sixth episode in the ongoing 13th Doctor adventures. If you've listened to us before, you'll know that I'm quite a big fan, so I'm very excited about this one, and I'm looking forward to talking more about it. So, Paul, shall we head into our very expensive title sequence and then be back here in a few seconds?
Let's do that. Now, hit it, Jeff.
Welcome back after our very expensive title sequence. Is it an expensive title sequence?
Can't remember. We actually, do you know what? Yes, it was, because it took a lot of time. I think you did the swirly graphic, and I did all the other bits, including the audio mix on it, because we're just skilled like that.
Yeah, we are.
We have skills and talents.
Highly skilled like that. Yes.
Yeah.
So we're here this week to take a chat or have a chat about Aegis, which is the brand new 13th Doctor audio drama from Big Finish.
Yeah.
So this series has been running for, well, how long has it been going for now? For about
quite a while.
It's got to be pushing a year, because it's every other month, isn't it, for the episodes? It's
I can look on my phone and see if it's going to tell me.
Check, because it's 6
Big
episodes.
Finish app. I don't know if it gives you dates, actually, on these things.
No, maybe.
What was the first one called?
Vampire Weekend.
Vampire Weekend.
Yeah.
Let me do a little search for that and see if that has a date on it. This is riveting stuff, I'm sure. Right, Vampire Weekend was released July 2025. So, yeah, we're coming up to about a year.
Nearly a year on it, yeah.
Written by Tim Foley. Of course, we interviewed Tim Foley, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We did.
He's a
talk
good
to Tim.
chap.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, there we go.
We said we'd get him
Weekend.
back on pretty soon, but that was obviously a year ago, so soz Tim.
Well, have you actually seen he's moving on from his Big Finish work?
Oh, is he? Is he doing other stuff now?
Yes, going on. So he's got a couple of things still coming out that obviously he wrote and recorded ages ago. But yes, he's moving on. So yeah, Vampire Weekend was written by Tim Foley, who was quite a legendary name among Big Finish circles.
Legendary name.
We spoke to Tim about Vampire Weekend and a little bit about the 13th Doctor adventures. So we should be able to put a link to that episode here, so you can take a listen to that if you want to. So after Vampire Weekend, we went to Return of the Doctor.
The Return of the Doctor.
Which was
I'm doing cinematic voices.
Nothing like that.
The Return of the Doctor.
Okay, now do this one.
Lionesses in Winter.
And now do this one.
Ride or Die.
And this one.
The Violet Hour.
And now this one.
Aegis.
Fantastic.
What about that?
So,
multi-skilled,
mate. six episodes in. And this has been pitched as the sort of mid-season finale.
It's a long season, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of what, the length that Who was, back in the early 2000s, 12, 13 episodes of the series. So
yeah, over a year.
Yeah. Which is, funny enough what this is, So I quite like that there's been a number of references to 13th Doctor Adventures Series 1. So I'm hoping that after the first 12, there'll be another series, or maybe it might just be wishful thinking from Big Finish that they'll do more. But if we don't get more, well, we'll have had this and that will be great. So, Aegis is kind of the midpoint here, and it ties in a number of things that have kind of been in play in the previous 5 episodes, which is mostly, notably, The Tourist, which we could talk about in a minute. And I don't know about you, Paul, but I also, first of all, I thought this was crackingly good Doctor Who, but it sort of slightly pulled the rug from under me with things, and then had a little flip of things and sort
a little play around with your expectations.
Yes, exactly, which I really quite liked. It didn't really do what I was expecting at all, which I thought was a good thing. It was good. So,
do you want to share what you were expecting? What your expectations were with this going in?
I think if you haven't listened to Aegis at this point, you should stop listening to us waffling and come back to it.
We're going to spoil it because we have to talk about it.
We're just going to blow it wide open. So
we're going to go right in there.
Yeah. So after the end of the previous adventure, which was the Violet Hour, where the tourist sort of came fully into play into the story, and the Doctor and Yaz were like, right, we're going to go and I can't remember if they said we're going to go and set a trap or we're going to try and catch them.
They were going to turn around and face the tourist.
That was it, yeah. So they were going to sort of head first into things. And the tourist has been hinted at from right back into Vampire Weekends. Do you remember we listened to it, and I'd picked up on it, and you hadn't, had you? And
I just thought tourist,
I think you.
It's hardly the Valeyard, is it?
No, but I quite liked it though, because I at one point thought maybe the tourist is going to be the Doctor. That'll
works,
be
actually
the twist on it.
Given what's kind of revealed in Aegis, it works. It works nicely. The tourist is a good name because it works on a few levels. So
it does, yes, yeah,
it's good.
And we asked Tim Foley about it, but he predictably and rightly wouldn't spill the beans on it. So yeah,
what do you know about the beans?
It's sort of been. We've sort of been led to believe that the tourist is a baddie. And he's kind of coming for the Doctor and Yaz. So going into Aegis, I was expecting a sort of, a confrontation between them, a kind of a showdown and a battle. And I was thinking, well, if this is supposed to be, the halfway point of this 12-episode series, I wonder what's going to happen, or maybe this.
Where do you take it next? So if you have a confrontation with the bad guy mid-season, what happens post
exactly
that?
Yeah.
And
I thought, well, maybe this ends up being, the end of series 1, and then the remaining 6 series 2.
Series 2.
But that's not what's happening. So I was sort of expecting the tourist to be revealed as this sort of, major. Adversary, but it wasn't, was it? The tourist ends up being quite a sort of sympathetic character,
relatively, yes.
That's wanting help.
Still, there's some morally questionable stuff.
Yes,
however, but then that's why they get the moniker the tourist, right? Because they sit inside your head in a way and kind of piggyback along with you. So are we going straight in there, or do you want to talk about other bits of the story first?
Yeah, let's talk about the tourist, because it's been this sort of big thing bubbling in it all. So, it's revealed that the tourist has sort of been...
Pure psychic energy.
Yeah.
A being of pure psychic energy, which has been weaponized by the Aegis Corporation, which is a kind of galactic arms manufacturer thing, isn't it?
Yes, the Aegis Protectorate, yeah.
So they've been using this thing to kind of power their super weapons, their Trojan super soldiers, kind of like scorpion, crab-like giant mech things with alleged human control, but is it really?
Yes.
There's another twist. That was quite nice.
Yes, that was nice too, wasn't it? Yeah, because you meet Orion, don't you? And you're sort of led to believe that he's a human pilot, and he's got a... He says he's got a son. Is it Ari? And
Ari, yeah. It's always his birthday tomorrow, and he wants to get back to him.
Yeah.
So, that was quite a nice twist. But the tourist is understandably a little bit cheesed off at being exploited by such means.
Yeah.
And actively has been not so much seeking out the Doctor, but making themselves visible, or at least trying to make themselves visible to the Doctor, so that the Doctor would rescue them. The tourist knows that the Doctor rescues people, beings in distress, and could potentially help the tourist, but has so far been unsuccessful until recent stories. So the tourist, it turns out, has sort of been aware of the Doctor in all the Doctor's forms, which kind of implies throughout many generations.
Yeah.
Which is quite a nice take. And it kind of opens up to Big Finish doing tourist stories in the past where they could maybe drop these little things in to, like the first Doctor adventures or whatever. So that was kind of smart. And you're right. Yeah, the the tourist does turn out to be a largely sympathetic character. But then it sits in Yaz's head for a while, doesn't it? And we get this really nice performance from Mandip Gill, where she's doing Yaz and also doing the tourist speaking through Yaz, which is quite fun.
Yeah, and Mandip had said that she wanted. Well, they were asked, when they started all of this, is there anything particular that you'd like to do? And Mandip said, yes, I want to do Evil Yaz.
Evil Yaz.
Yeah. So it was something that we got a hint of in the Return of the Doctor, because there was a similarly themed, kind of entity, and that wasn't there, that was kind of talking to Yaz. But in this, the tourist is sort of more, in her head and sort of channeling her and stuff. So yeah, Mandip was great here. It's a real kind of, teeth to her in this, which was fun. So yeah, the tourist is, like you said, understandably kind of quite miffed at being
quite miffed
used as this kind of sort of the battery in a way, because we discover that the Trojans are just the robots and powered by it was sort of video gamey in a way, wasn't it? They're all these robots are not being, the operators think they're real people, but they're not, and the tourist is sort of being used to power it all, isn't it?
Yeah. It was like there was it was quite a nice sort of take on it. The fact that so Aegis Corporation or the Aegis Protectorate are doing this big expo of all their arms and new super weapons and things like that, and they roll out this Trojan thing. And make the point that it's still controlled or still piloted by a human, right? And then the Trojan kind of speaks, and it sounds very human. It relates to a character that we'd seen at the start of the story in a pretty good Starship Troopers kind of bug hunt sort of thing.
Yes, because
that was quite fun.
I was going to say this story that was written by Nogia Flaishon, who's been the producer on the range. It really rattles along quite quickly, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And I think you're right. I think it kind of plays with expectations as well. Because I'm not going to lie, when it first opened, I thought, okay, this is very by the numbers kind of thing, and it progressed along that way for quite some time, and to the point where I didn't find it really very interesting. I didn't find it very captivating. I didn't really give a hoot of what was going on until the point where the tourist we sort of dug into the tourist a little bit more. I sort of like the fact that it was pulling other threads out from the story as well. So Prospero, who is the agent by which they get into the Doctor and Yaz get into the expo, kind of lets them in through the back door as his companions or something. That dude was in. I can't remember which story it was, but it was Ride or Die, wasn't it?
Yeah, when they're on the war planet.
The planet Rock.
Yeah, that's it.
So there's nice links, and it's quite nice how it sort of pulls a few threads out from those previous stories.
And can I just say as well that I thought Prospero was it's a brain in a jar, and it gets a new robot. Kind of made me think of Krang from the Ninja Turtles. Do you remember Krang?
No.
You don't know? Do you not?
Dude, I never watched Ninja Turtles.
Did you not?
No, shit. I never liked it. I was too old for Ninja Turtles when it came out. I'm a little bit older than you. Forget it. I'd moved on. I was, messing around with girls and stuff at that point. Flipping turtles. Honestly, no. I wasn't doing that.
Well, that's very unfortunate. Let me just find a quick picture here. So
Prospero, yes, brain in a jar, but that's what they were in Ride or Die, right?
Yeah.
And that was a really good. I really enjoyed that story, and there's a really nice sort of ending to that, which saw the Doctor, if I remember correctly, almost like buy into a company. She bought out the company that Prospero owned. Oh, Jesus Christ. For those who are just listening on audio, Jeff is showing us a picture of
it's Krang.
Whoever that dude is.
Krang is the brain creature, and this is the robot body that he has.
Dude, that's not where you keep your brains. Usually the brains are in your head.
Body, isn't it? Yeah, it's in his, near his nethers.
Anyway, right, okay, can we get back to serious stuff now? Flipping
more brain in a jar talk.
Brain in a jar talk, yeah. Now, I thought the end of Ride or Die was quite fun. If it was Ride or Die, where they meet Prospero turns out to be the bad guy behind pretty much everything. And then there's a big sort of chase sequence through time and space afterwards, where the Doctor, I think, buys the company that Prospero's invested in, but then by some trickery, Prospero manages to sort of turn the tables and become even richer and more powerful than ever. But in the process, I don't know, it's something, I can't remember what happens, but it's nice to see Prospero kind of picked up again in this one, in another body. Yeah, it's like some different thing. And there's some nice little two-way between him and the Doctor, and between Yaz as well, because he doesn't like the Doctor and Yaz at all. They're just a pain in the arse, really. But okay, there's some sort of deal on the table. He's got to go through with it, and blah blah blah. But what I was a little bit kind of annoyed at, really, was there's a really good, potentially good character here, and I think he's dispatched relatively sort of in a low-key kind of way, which I thought, well, that's a bit of a shame. I mean, I presume he might be able to come back. I mean, if he can come back from being a brain in a jar, then, whatever. But it's doable, I suppose. But, this is a story where I thought it had some real major high points. There were bits of this that I really loved, but then on the other hand, there was stuff that I thought it was so by the numbers, it was kind of unreal. But I don't know. I mean, that's just my take on it. I didn't think it was the best 13th Doctor story that we've had, but I did end up enjoying it in the end. I just maybe think. I think actually, right, okay, here we are. So I think the concepts behind it, the reveal of the tourist, and the sort of moral and existential sort of messages behind that, I thought were fantastic. I thought were brilliant. There's a whole kind of question about what is human, or like, if something behaves human and thinks it's human and acts like a human, does it have the same rights as a human? It kind of taps into a sort of almost like advanced AI kind of thing, right? And and I kind of like that. And it's sort of, again, playing on, my brain's racing too far. It's racing ahead of my words. But the whole kind of reality versus simulation stuff, right? Which is kind of so one of the things I like about Starship Troopers is that whole satire in the background. Join up, conscript, join the war, defeat the bugs, and all that stuff that goes on and via the news channels. And they do that in this story right first, a marketing device, promotional video for Aegis Corporation.
Yes, that's right, because the Doctor says they must have spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then later in the story, so all of that kind of gets put to one side for a bit, and then it comes back towards the end of it, and there's a really nice sort of debate on the kind of the horror and the nature of warfare. Because when we see warfare in, warfare on the news, it's distant from us. The people, we don't know them. We can maybe sympathise with them, but it's, we don't know who they are. We just sort of recoil from the atrocity of it, and we know it has a human cost, but we don't know those people on a personal level, this is when we see it on the news, and there's a whole sort of kind of I think the best way, trying to think of the way to word it, there's a sort of discussion in philosophy about something called hyperreality, which is where you're unable to distinguish between the reality of a situation and the simulation of it, right? So like for example, so you got those situations on the news, and we see, horrific stuff from Gaza, and we see horrific stuff from Ukraine, and, everything else. And then we watch a movie which is as realistic as it can possibly be. And what you get is a kind of merging of those elements. So the movie tells its story. The movie of warfare tells its story like a news documentary of it, right? Saving Private Ryan in some ways is a really good example of that, right? It's shot right in the face, very personal, almost like a camera on the ground, that the soldiers are aware of the camera, they're being part of it. And it's deliberately designed that way so that it matches the way that news footage is being shot live in battlefield situations. So you get that whole merging, but one is real, one it isn't. But if they both match the same kind of beats, which one is real? Which, you know what I mean? And actually, in the movie, because we're sort of pulled into knowing who the characters are and empathising with them a little bit more, sometimes what happens is you sympathise more with the fictional characters than you do with the real humans being killed on a grand scale. So and all of that is kind of referenced in this story towards the end of it. It's not a big piece of it, but there's just enough there to kind of make it feel present and relevant to the story. And for me, at least anyway, start to ask myself those questions. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that I really, really loved. So, you know, because it's real and it's relevant, you know, and it's absolutely bang on the money for now, because we are in this situation where we are being presented with some horrific atrocities that shouldn't be happening, and yet they are. And in some ways, they're kind of becoming normalized. You know, so, you know, we see reports on the news that, you know, so many people have been died in another drone attack somewhere, you know, and it's like, you know, we can recoil at the horror of it, but we're not there on the ground.
Yeah,
it's a news story.
Until it's on your doorstep, you know, it's exactly. Not quite...
Yeah, that's it. And the trouble is the conversation kind of normalises a lot of this stuff, and it sort of pushes the horror of it down, and it just becomes almost, for us out here, you know, watching these distant events, it's happening to someone else, somewhere else, you know. And that's quite that's quite a... I don't know, it's an uncomfortable thing to sort of realise in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? Because we're just carrying on our normal lives and this stuff's kind of happening. I'm probably going off on a bit of a spin platform now, but, you know, it's referenced here in the story, and I absolutely love the fact that it is. It doesn't change the story. You know, you're not being asked to kind of sympathise with it or understand it or anything. It's just there. And then the story kind of moves on to, you know, the sort of more standard sort of Doctor Who stuff. So I love that. That with the human element as well. You know, this it's sort of ability to indistinguish or inability to distinguish between what is real human and what is kind of fake human. You know, you think of AI, you know, if they get better and better and they become more human than human, and it's... You know, it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
That's when we start going down
that's kind of referenced as well.
Cyberman route, isn't it? You know,
exactly. Yeah. You know, it's we continue as, you know, as a human race, we continue opening these doors to these very dark and morally questionable sort of places that we just can't resist walking into. Almost, you know.
Well, you know, look, this is not going to be as intellectual as your view, but it brings back the old Jurassic Park thing. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it does. It's exactly that. You know? Yeah, I mean that's Michael Crichton's idea, isn't it? You know what I mean? Someone finds like a dinosaur genome, right, and they know they can clone it. Of course they're going to do it. It's like back to Doctor Who. It's like Davros with his file of deadly COVID virus, you know, rat virus. It's like, would I press it? Of course I would. I'd press it. I mean, okay, so he's a raving psychotic megalomaniac, but most ordinary people probably wouldn't. But it's tapping into that, and you know that thing that urge to go beyond is part of being human. And it can either be beneficial, or it can be stupid, or it can be utterly catastrophic, I guess. That nature. And I do enjoy stories that kind of look at those elements within our sort of humanity and sort of prod them a little bit, you know, because, you know, I think that sort of element to a story grounds it in some way. And, you know, we can enjoy the monster chases and, you know, the face-offs and the confrontations and the tourists and the Valiards and all that, you know, and that's all a lot of fun. But, you know, sometimes when Doctor Who kind of skates the surface of reality in a way that scrapes a new line through the ice, it's, you know, makes your backbone kind of shiver with what they've done. It's like, that's quite good. You know, I do like that. And I think this is why I enjoy a lot of fantasy and sci-fi TV, because it can ask those questions while telling an adventurous, crazy, humorous, bonkers story.
Yeah, I mean, this talked a lot about, you know, war, you know, being for profit, you know, in many ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other part of it, isn't it? You know, which again, we see happening a lot. You know, you wonder, well, you don't need to wonder, it's quite visible now. They're not even trying to hide how much money they're making out of these things.
You know, this one, it made me think a little bit, funny enough, of Iron Man 2, because I didn't watch it that long ago. But, you know, he is the Stark expert at the beginning, and at that point he's trying to do it for, you know, peaceful purposes. But then when Justin Hammer takes over everything at the end, and he brings out his new drones for the Navy, for the Army, you know,
it all goes a bit south, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then I was thinking, oh yeah, it's a bit like the, you know, these new Trojans, you know, the first model was sort of humanoid looking, and then these new ones are like on the cover art, the sort of crab type things, you know. And you know, there's, you know, it's really interesting what you said there about the, you know, the hyperreality thing. So I told you that there was a
Jean Baudrillard, I think was the name of the fellow, the philosopher who sort of posited that idea. It was originally during the first Gulf War. And if you think the U2 song Rattle and Hum, isn't it? Yeah,
no,
and I can't tell the difference between ABC News, Hill Street Blues. It's all of that kind of thing. Yeah. It's exactly that in a tin.
There was a fairly major road accident. One car behind me the other day.
Oh yeah, you told me about this. Yeah.
And you know, obviously I felt I was extremely lucky, but other people weren't. And you know, the next day when I drove up there, you know, I was going slower, quite sort of started to realise I feel quite funny here. But I was thinking, having seen this in my rear view, and then you see crashes in films and stuff, and you think, oh yeah, wow, that's cool, you know, and that's exciting. But actually, you know, it's a bit like in a horror film. You know, someone gets stabbed, and you sort of you're like, oh wow, you know, that's a gory death, you know. But you don't perhaps see the actuality of what it's supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? Because we've become a bit desensitized to it, and it's sort of the reverse of what you're saying. You know, you watch it on screen, and it's you know, it's entertainment, but until you actually see something like that, the reality of what would actually be happening, do you know what I mean? Is quite
absolutely, it's a different thing because there's somebody in that car, you know, and they're. Yeah, it's not. God, this has turned a very dark path, isn't it?
Yeah, let's reverse.
Let's get back to the story.
I'm mostly just happy to be listening to 13 and Yaz.
There you go. Yeah,
but it's nice that, you know, no, it's not all I need. That's, you know, but it is good that there is depth to things, you know, and you know, perhaps you might have wanted a bit more, but you know, we're trying to cram stuff into a 45-minute, you know, adventure here, and you know, I think. It's not what it's for. It can tackle that and you know, have it in there a little bit, but you know, maybe if it was a two-parter, you know, they'd have gone into it a bit more. So yeah, I you know, I really enjoyed this one, as I have done all of them. But I think I liked this one more than the preceding one, which is funny because that was a slightly spooky one. And, you know, I do enjoy things like that. But I like that this rattled along really quickly.
It was nicely paced. It was very, very quickly paced.
I thought Prospero was really good. There was quite a lot of sort of kind of Buffy type humour when he's saying something about get your feet off the upholstery or something like that, you know, in the car. You know, it was that sort of baddie villain type thing, but then they're like, oh, we must go and get the dry cleaning done and not forget to do that, you know, this sort of normal life out.
Bit just Whedonisms,
a little bit, and I thought Jodie sounded really good in this one. I wondered if she'd been poorly in the last couple because
I wondered.
She sounded slightly different, didn't she? And this was more, you know, her you know, proper doctor.
Sounded more like on form, so to speak.
Yeah, just in her tone and everything, and I thought the end was quite, you know, sort of quite moving, really. You know, they went to the Orion Nebula, which they thought was quite, the Doctor thought was quite fitting, and, you know, released the tourist, and the tourist, when it got to come on the TARDIS, was thrilled at getting to be, you know, companion briefly, know, and helping with things there, and that's kind of what it, you know, had wanted. So yeah, I really liked that. And there was a brief Yaz called Ryan, didn't she?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I'd heard that right. Actually, I kind of sort of did the old slip back 15 seconds to be sure, but that was quite nice, sort of pulling in the fam, so to speak. So
just a little bit, because this is all taking place sort of pre-flux. So you know, they'd have left at that point. So it was just a nice little reference to you know, sort of be keeping in touch with them and things, but then chaos occurred, so she had to hang up and disappear. So yeah, overall, this has been a really good run of. Paul is
I was going to say,
his finger up.
You've almost just because you're about to move on. We haven't talked about Juliet Aubrey as Athena. She's the big bad in this. When you talk about confrontation, so that the Doctor does have a kind of Doctor plus baddie confrontation in this, but it's not with the tourists. It's with Athena, who's the woman who owns the Aegis Protectorate, right?
So this was the sort of I suppose twist to a degree that it had, because I was expecting the tourist to be revealed as some sort of awful alien type thing, and instead we get this, I assume, human who's running the weapons company, and then she gets out at the end, and then the Doctor's right. We now have to go after her and take it down. And in the behind the scenes on the audio, they talk a bit about this and giving the Doctor a sort of a big enemy to go up against, and at this point in the series, given her something that could be sort of seen as a definable win, but was not like the full stop to everything. I thought Juliet was a great villain, kind of a little bit in the vein of what was her name in Smith and Jones, who's running Adipose. Can't remember. She's played by quite a well-known actress as well.
I think that's two different stories there, mate. But
no, it is. But I'm saying it's a bit like the woman in that.
The woman,
the character who's runs Adipose in it.
Gosh, yeah, it's a long time. I can't remember. Anyway,
can't remember her name.
But she was good. I mean, she's a sort of top tier actor as well. She's been in a lot of stuff over a great many years.
Yes.
Probably makes her sound really old. Actually, I think she's only a couple of years older than me, and obviously I'm as young as anything.
Yes, obviously, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah,
but
so
no, she was good.
Exciting that she's going to get to come back, and I wonder how that's going to play out, whether with a Aegis Mark II or something, or how big in scale it's going to get.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably one of these companies that just has its fingers or its talons in everything. Across the galaxy, and generally big power structures like this are notoriously insidious,
yes.
You know what I mean, and difficult to topple. So if that's the kind of wall of force that the Doctor's going up against in future stories, then I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
something I'll look forward to for
sure.
Exciting,
yeah. I'm surprised Big Finish haven't put out a preview for the next adventure. Look, I don't think I've missed it, but they've normally, when one of these has come out, the next day or two, they've shown the next.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I didn't finish listening to the sort of end credits because I said suddenly my phone started ringing. Somebody actually called me.
Oh, right, that's unusual. Yeah.
It's unusual. I'm listening to Doctor Who on my phone. Why would somebody use my phone to ring me? What is this?
Yeah, no, they don't often do it at the end, but online and stuff they show it.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the trailer for this only came out, or did it come out straight after the end of the previous one, the Violet Hour? Then did it?
They normally in the next day or two
after can't remember
put it out. But nothing for this. So I don't know. I don't actually know when the next o's due. They haven't announced that. No, anyway.
Don't know, mate.
We had a few thoughts from some of our listeners about the adventure. So over on Blue Sky, Lee, who is the future is for everyone, says Big Finish doesn't have the greatest track record for tying up smaller story arcs as they tell large ones, sometimes boring you as they tread water, Uncharted in brackets. This story moves and actually answers a question about the tourist and expands it all with Aegis. Love the showcase of Yaz's strength of character. And he says there's also something tragic about the tourist craving companionship, but being so abused, she doesn't trust anyone to simply ask and come by it honestly. It's so much more of a leap to ask someone to trust when they've only seen the untrustworthy. So I thought, he's not sort of far wrong there. And as we said, the tourist was sort of quite sympathetic as a character.
There's also quite nice. Again, another sort of moral question about using a living force as your weapon. I mean, I know that's been done in sci-fi so many times, and it's been in Doctor Who before, I'm sure. But it's still, it's still something that's worth repeating. I feel, because it's not outside the realms of possibility at all. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And then over on Twitter, Mini Miqua said, I like the story. The tourist is a good concept for a character, and I hope they will show up again. Mandit's performance was really the standout of this episode. Yeah. Really great acting.
100%.
Yeah, she was brilliant in it. And, because Yaz is such a sort of personable, warm character.
Love Yaz.
Yeah, and, there's been sort of flashes of, like she gets angry a couple of times in Flux, when the Doctor doesn't explain things properly to her. But in this, I know it was kind of bad Yaz, but it was really good getting to see Mandip, kind of stretch things a little bit and try something new.
And there was a really nice point where the Doctor is kind of flapping on, and she's going on she's about to embark on a massive bunch of techno babble, and Yaz just cuts her off, interrupts, and is like, Doctor, move on, kind of thing, and the Doctor's like, oh yeah, stressed, busy, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's good. I love that.
Yeah, I think their relationship has been captured really nicely across all these audios, and it's even though it's between seasons, it's helped kind of enrich and develop it all further, and they know each other really nicely.
This is a very confident Yaz, isn't it? This is a sort of mature Yaz, someone who kind of seems to be a lot more comfortable in her own skin, has got a relationship with the Doctor kind of nicely rolling and building, and is enjoying the companionship and enjoying her kind of equal place within that relationship. It's not a kind of Doctor, it's the flat team structure. It's not the Doctor at the top and Yaz below. It literally feels like the two of them running hand in hand through time and space. And I love that. I adore that. I think that's, we know how this relationship is going to end and how it's going to play out before it gets there. So it's really nice just to enjoy the time with them right now in this almost, I'd say, happy place, because obviously stuff happens to the both of them that's not pleasant, but nonetheless it's a really nice vibe. There you go. It's a nice vibe. I'm down with the kids in it.
I'm
vibing right now.
Really pleased that
it's how you say it? I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. It's just the two of them. In this series, maybe if they do another one, they'll add Dan or Graham or whatever. But 13 and Yaz, just two of them. That's brilliant. So we had an audio review from KATIE Haynes, didn't we?
KATIE, yes.
If you'd like to, yes, please.
Let's go. Here we go.
So, Aegis is out. I just listened to it. This will be the first listen through of many. This was perfect. This was a phenomenal finale. This was Yaz's standout episode. In who she is as a character, in who she is as a person. The Doctor is always a spectacular, but this was Yaz's definitive episode. I loved it. I love the writing. I love the characterization. I love the Comic-Con mentions. It didn't go where I thought it was going to go. But I do love the direction they took the tourist. And there is endless heart in this particular episode. I adored it. Absolutely spot on. Jodie nailed it. Especially the finale. Jodie shone. Mandip, this was her episode. This was Yaz's moment, and I freaking loved it.
Steady, KATIE.
God, the voiceover work. Mandip, call me. It was so good. Oh my God, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you, KATIE,
I
for that.
forgot about the Comic-Con mention, but that
was quite fun, wasn't it? There's a nice little...
Yeah. But people do like...
Sort of in-joke.
Jodie at the cons, that was a great one. I've only listened to it once so far. I plan to listen to it on my second day of driving up to London this week, but after the accident, I didn't really fancy... having anything else on in the car.
Sure.
So I will get back to it, because like KATIE, I plan to listen to this one a couple of times overall. So yes, excited to see what comes from episode 7. Hopefully we'll find some news about that soon. We're now May, so maybe July time for that one, or possibly August. Anyway, not long. So
we shall see.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
We shall see.
So we've got another voice note, haven't we, from William Trimble?
William, yes.
So sometimes when we get voice notes in from people, they are in relation to something we've previously asked about, and by the time it comes in, we've already recorded that episode, which is what happened with The Future is for Everyone the other week. He sent in a great bit about...
we ended up in an episode out of sync, didn't we?
But, we played it when we were talking with Al about figures, and it was about Cybermen, so it's still sort of tied in a little bit.
Yeah.
So I haven't listened to...
and it's always good to kind of hear from people anyway, and I love people voice notes,
Yes,
send your voice note.
It's brilliant.
It's a lot of fun.
We really like getting them. So Williams came through speakpipe.com/who's E to see, and I think Katie just emailed hers to both of us, didn't she? So however you want to send them, just do it. We would love to hear from you. So you can send us a voice note on WhatsApp if you want to do that, or email us. Just drop us a line and get the details. So I haven't listened to this one from William, so
I'll listen to the first bit of it actually, just kind of get an idea.
Let's play, and then we can talk.
Let's listen. Right, here's William.
So I'm probably watching the Jodie Whittaker era in the completely wrong order, but I've just watched the Village of the Angels episode, and I think this is going to be hard to believe, but I think it tops Blink. Blink, obviously, is amazing. It's the one I grew up watching, amazing. But that Village of the Angels episode, Jodie Whittaker's performance, the whole atmosphere of the episode was absolutely top notch. I think that's my new favourite Weeping Angel episode, and I cannot believe I've not seen it since. I probably did watch it on broadcast, but watching it again, it felt like it the first time, and it was brilliant. And I'm totally in love with this era.
That's great.
Well, thank you, William. Totally in love with this era. That's what we like to hear. We love to hear from people in love with any era of Doctor Who. So,
but particularly rediscovering something that perhaps hadn't quite sort of worked for them first time. So William messaged last week, was it? And asked us what we thought of the era, and I guess he's been kind of rewatching things. Yeah.
We love it.
Do you know what? So for me, William, you may not have heard this because we did it a while ago, but Village of the Angels is one of my absolute favourite Who episodes. And that cliffhanger is...
Jeff does like the cliffhanger.
I always go on about that one.
A lot.
The best cliffhanger in all of Doctor Who.
It's not. It's not really.
It's absolutely
we'll
incredible.
Let him think that. It's not.
And I would definitely say this would be the definitive Weeping Angels story for me, because of its the horror feel to it, the way they kind of expand and develop.
They're in the right setting, aren't they?
Yeah, it's sort of really a kind of small town horror. The thing is, is this controversial? Who cares? Blink. Blink is a really good episode. It's excellent, and the Weeping Angel in it, superb, great introduction. But the Doctor's only.
Where's the Doctor? Where's the Doctor? Is it the DVD extras?
Yeah, and him and Martha pop up slightly at the beginning and the end.
With the bow and arrow, don't they?
For an adventure that was maybe something to do with DWM or something. So it is, it's brilliantly clever. It's Moffat-y, and it's quite sort of tense and scary. But I got to be honest, I get a bit annoyed when I see Blink voted as the best episode of Doctor Who of all time. It's not. And if you were to sit down with someone, and maybe this is an episode we should do for podcasts, what would be your episode that you'd show to someone to try to introduce them to Doctor Who?
That's a good
I'll tell you what it wouldn't be. It's Space Babies. It's not going to be that.
I thought you were going to say Blink.
No, but it wouldn't be Blink either, because whilst I think it's really good...
it would set up expectations for almost like an anthology sci-fi show or something, perhaps, or the Sally Sparrow adventures,
you'd
something
be
like that.
Oh, that was really good. What a creepy alien.
It's unique in the fact, and it was interesting at the time, because of the Angels, and because the Doctor had was relegated to a back seat. And obviously it was the episode where David Tennant's on holiday or taking some time off or something, which I think was happening for one story every one of those early series.
They double bank, which is why you then have like...
which is great, and rather than let us have no episode. They made an episode, and it allowed them to write something that was slightly different, slightly
like
off the wall,
left.
maybe something experimental. Yeah, exactly. Something that focuses on the companion, or something that focuses on somebody we'd never met before and would never meet again, as in the case of Blink.
Half of series 15.
All that, yeah. Ignore Jeff's insidious comments here, but no, you got a point, to be honest, because it felt like a long time before Shooty's Doctor actually turned up and did anything meaningful. But Blink was, it's a great story, very much a one-off, and then very atypical Doctor Who. So I think if you showed somebody that, they wonder what you're showing them the next week. What's this? Who's that guy in this time machine thing? Where'd he come from? What's he all about? Oh, that's the guy who's on the DVD, isn't it? What? This is all about him, really?
No. Well, it could be like, what do you mean that's the Doctor? It's different. They look different.
Yeah. But it doesn't make it a bad story.
No, not at all.
Did it win a Hugo? I think it did,
probably,
didn't it?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad at all.
It won some award.
Far from it. But, I would also say that I think Flesh and Stone, what's that two-part called? I can't remember the other half's name right now.
Flesh and Stone, Time of the Angels. Time of the Angels.
Yeah.
No,
it's brilliant. It's that.
That's my. I can't even remember the title of it, but yeah, that's my definitive Weeping Angel story. I absolutely 100% love that one. That for me is. I mean, I love Village of Angels, but this. There's something about Flesh and Stone, and it's Time of Angels.
Yeah, I think so. But Blink is Alien, and Flesh and Stone is Aliens.
What?
Well, one of them has only got one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But what does that make Village of the Angels?
Alien 3, clearly.
Well, which cut? Just makes edition. It superior. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's so good. That's quite interesting that William put it over Blink in the end, because it's it
includes the Doctor for one thing. So the Doctor has a huge amount of agency throughout the whole thing. The Doctor is literally powering through that story from one side to another like a dynamo, and things are kind of falling away from. Well, they're never really in her control, but they seem to be spinning ever further out of control. She loses her companions. She has this terrifying fight with the angels. There's somebody out of time that seems to be messing stuff up, and then right at the end, she ends up being turned into an angel.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
It is very, very good indeed. So thank you, William, for reminding us of that. We love it.
That's brilliant. So I guess that's probably it for this week. We've talked for ages about this new...
I should have loaded that on the media. So, do you know what? I think I even did. Wait one sec.
Okay, let me do it again. We've talked for ages about this new adventure.
Oh no, that was it. That was shit, really.
If I have the time, I'll cut that out.
It's a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
It does do it, but it's just ridiculously quiet. Sorry. Anyway.
So we'll be back next week.
I can't hear this now. You can hear it, but I can't hear it.
Yeah.
I'll stop it. There you
Talk
go.
about delayed reaction. So we'll be back next week. What we're going to talk about, who knows? We will figure it out. We're going to be doing a live stream very soon with our duo.
That'd be fun.
Between the three of us, we will get our act together, sort out when we're going to do that, and let people know, so you can join in if you'd like. Keep on getting in touch, letting us know your thoughts on episodes. William, keep sending us your mini reviews. That'd be great. Anyone else wants to tell us anything about who?
Jump right in.
Just send it in. Doesn't have to be on topic with what we're covering that week.
No, exactly. Yeah, anything. If you love Space Babies and want to put Jeff right about a few things as to the wonderful stuff within that story that he's clearly missing, then please let us know. Honestly, tell us, send it in. We love to hear from anybody who loves Doctor Who for whatever reasons, even if it's stories that we don't like. Just let's get the conversation going.
Yeah, send it in. So
send it in.
Let us know what you think.
Where are they going to send it to, Jeff?
You can go to www.com/ nope, hold on. No,
you've got to get that right, mate.
Address. You go to
www.speakpipe. You don't need www. Just say speakpipe.com / who
see to see.
There you go.
Yeah. Or you can email us. Our email address is on the website, which is whoc2c.buzzsprout.com.
I'll never remember that. Just put a link down the bottom.
It's in the bottom of the. It's in all the about text. Yeah.
Scroll down the text on your podcast
it's on
description.
The box below. Yeah.
Oh God, this is painful.
Drop us a line.
Shall we go now?
Yep. And we look forward to hearing from you. And we'll see you next time on Who Corner to Corner.
Yeah. See you next time.
Easy.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. See you later. Bye.